How are you guys? I hope you're doing great. Welcome again to Verified Soul. And as you can see, I want to talk about these things that confuses many people, and it's because of the advice that they get out there. And it's about marriage and the DV lottery. Who said that you can't marry after applying the DV lottery or after winning? Who said that you will reduce your chances of getting the visa approved if you get married? No, that is a lie. And I'm here to tell you the truth that when you apply for the DV lottery, you continue with life as normal. And if you are planning to marry, continue with the marriage process and get married. Even though you apply as a single because at that time you are not married, then continue with the marriage process and get married legally. And by you doing so, you don't risk or reduce your chances of getting your visa approved once you win the DV lottery. No, you don't reduce or risk. So long as you continue with your marriage process legally and you end up marrying legally, there is no reduction in your visa approval or winning the DV lottery. So those guys discouraging you from getting married, yet you want to continue your life, simply saying that you'll reduce your chances, they are lying to you. That is not correct. But some things you need to take note of, that once you get married and you're filling the DS260 form, you need to add your spouse in the DS260 form. You add him or her in your DS260 form. Don't leave your spouse out. Even if you applied as single and you've married, you add your spouse in your DS260 form. The other thing is that you will be required to prove the legality of your marriage, and that is by producing the marriage certificate. In fact, it is in all embassies. You have to prove that you are legally married to this spouse. And number two, you will have to prove the evidence of your existing relationship, even before the results were out or even before you applied for the DV lottery. So you need to arm yourself with the proof documents of your existing relationship prior the application or the DV results. If you do those two things, the certificate and the proof, you are very, very safe. Nothing will hinder you from getting your visa approved. The second statement, if you applied as married and got separated or divorced, how do you go about it? So if you applied the DV lottery as married because you are married, but later on you got separated, you are now living separate ways, or you got divorced, what should you do? You just indicate in the DS260 form that you are divorced or you are separated. But wait, you need to have the separation documents or the divorce papers with you. If you don't have the divorce papers or the separation documents, then you cannot claim that you are divorced, because these proof documents will be requested. And if you cannot prove it, then you definitely will not succeed in the interview. Only if you have the documents should you feel separated. But if you are separated or you consider yourself divorced, yet you don't have the papers, you'll have to continue as married. And if you continue as married, when you go to the interview, you just simply say that your spouse is not willing to immigrate with you, and that's why they are not in the interview. They refuse to immigrate with you, and by so doing, you'll be successful. So if you don't have proof papers of divorce or your separation, continue as married and say that your spouse is not willing to immigrate with you. By that, you will be safe and your visa will be approved. The third statement, when your spouse refuses to relocate with you. If you are married, but your spouse refuses to immigrate with you to the US, that is not a problem. It is not a problem at all, and it will not reduce your chances of getting selected. You'll just indicate that your spouse is not immigrating with you, and simply when you go to the interview, you will go as the spouse not immigrating with you, and you'll get your visa approved if you are successful. That should not hinder you from getting your visa. If he or she does not want to go with you, it is well and good. You just indicate not immigrating with you. But note this, and this is very important. If during your application, your country of birth was not qualified for the DV program, and you went ahead to use your spouse's country of birth, and the spouse's country of birth was eligible for the DV lottery. If you used the country of eligibility of your spouse, and at this point that spouse refuses to immigrate with you, then that becomes a problem, because you by yourself, you're not eligible based on the country of your birth. But your spouse's country of birth that you used is the one that made you eligible. So if he or she refuses to immigrate with you, now you can't proceed with the process because you'll not get successful, because the country of eligibility that you chose was that of your spouse. So what you need to do is to talk with your spouse and let him or her agree to proceed with you through the interview. And after the interview, if you are successful, then the spouse can decide to remain behind and let you go. That would be the only way in this scenario. Have you gotten me clearly? I hope so. The other statement, if you mistakenly selected married, yet you are single, is it correctable? Oh, my friends, when filling the DV lottery application form during the DV entry, you need to be extremely careful. Extremely careful. Because when you are selecting your status and you are single, for example, but you mistakenly selected that you are married, either to a United States citizen or not to a United States citizen. If you select any of those marriage, yet you are single, it is incorrectable. You cannot correct it. You cannot correct it. And if it can be corrected, it would be through the interview. During the interview, if you are able to express yourself to the consular, the interviewing consular officer, that you had made a mistake, it was erroneous that you selected married, and the consular officer get convinced, then he or she can let you go through. But how can you do that? How will the consular believe you? How will the consular know that you're telling the truth? It is a hard process, very subjective, and it's very hard. If you can well explain that you mistakenly selected, of which is very hard, very impossible, how will you prove that? If you are able to do that, then you get your visa approved. But if you mistakenly did that mistake, your chances of getting approved, they are very and very and very, very, very minimal. So this mistake is very, very grievous. You cannot correct it unless through that way that I've mentioned. So when filling or entering the DV lottery, you need to be very carefully on which boxes you're checking. Let them be correct. Take your time. Don't just rush through. Take your time and select the correct status of your life. And so applies to a married person and selects that he or she is single. That's the same case. You cannot correct it. And with that, I come to the end of the video. Have you found it informative? Then please like the video and also share it out. And subscribe to the channel. And let's meet in the next video.